And we're live. Raj, Padalia, welcome to the Super Connector podcast.
What's going on? I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. It was a great time interviewing you for my podcast. So it's truly an honor to come back on yours and continue the conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there'll be many more, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to give that context and say that I found you on the internet. I found you actually when I was about to start this podcast. I was looking at names that I really liked, and your podcast already had one of the names I was thinking about. So I was like, "Oh, what a great
minds
name for a podcast!"
Yeah, great minds think alike. So that's what's great. This year, I've noticed a ton of synchronicities like that. Just random coincidences, random happenstances, really pleasant surprises that it's really strange, actually, but it really in a really wonderful way.
That's good to hear. It seems like things are speeding up in a sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's an acceleration of our evolution as individuals, as society, as communities. Things are definitely speeding up in all aspects. Just look at technology, look at socially. It's every single facet of our experience is speeding up.
It's a wild ride right now. So for some context, will you give us just a quick bio? Who are you? What do you like to do?
Yeah. So my profession is that I'm a physical therapist. I'm my doctorate in physical therapy. So during the weekdays, through Monday through Thursday, I treat in an outpatient facility, generally focused on, things like back pain, neck pain, strengthening. And I just see general population in my office. When I'm not doing that, I have a few side businesses, and I have a podcast where we talk about Hinduism and psychedelics. And I I'm a very curious mind. So I like to throw different things at the wall, experience new things, and connect with really interesting folks. That's kind of how I got in touch with you.
Awesome. Yeah, what an interesting combination you have too. I've never met anybody with that combination of hobbies and occupations. So
exactly. Yeah, I mean it's all over the place. Getting into physical therapy really opened my eyes to the power of the human body, its inner healing mechanisms, and the power of the mind itself and its influence over the human body, particularly when it comes to pain. And that's what really sparked my interest in one's psyche and its effect on body effects such as, pain and strength. And then as I got into that, I started to combine that with psychedelics and see what kind of therapeutic potential psychedelics have in affecting the mind in such a way to affect one's health through healthy behavior change and through pain relief. And then from there, I ended up opening a hookah lounge with a former patient of mine. So I did that for a year and a half. I was work during the day at the clinic seeing patients, and then at night, I'd be putting on a very different hat. And that was a very humbling experience as well. Getting into something that I knew nothing about and taking that leap, and it was a ton of fun. It was a great time. It was rock and roll psychedelic themed place, so we would have concerts there, and it was a great time. I met a lot of great people. In fact, one of the guys that I met there, I ended up starting another business with later on. Once I sold the hookah lounge to my partner, I ended up doing a power washing company with one of the guys that I met at the lounge. So I'm still involved with that for the past 2 years. And now I'm starting to go back into healthcare. I want to see how I can use my particular set of skills and see how I can help people, particularly in terms of their health and wellness. Beautiful. Yeah, it's a long-winded history of how I got here, I guess.
Very cool. Well, I think we need that. I think we need that seriously right now. and
Yeah,
not only that, but I think we need a different approach to a lot of the methods that we're using. Elaborate on
110%.
that a little bit.
Yeah. So right now in the American medical system, we're kind of treated as kind of like mechanical robots, like, oh, your knee hurts, let's just replace it, just like it's a broken tire or something like
Mhm.
that. And a lot of it is, you have some symptom and you do some therapeutic modality to just address the symptom, but not the root cause. And our society is afflicted with an addiction to quick fixes. So that's where people, they start doing surgeries, unnecessary surgeries, medications. That's how we got in this opioid crisis to begin with. A lot of that had to do with the chronic pain problem that we have in this country, and how ineffective we are at helping people's health and their pain. We have, 73% of us are overweight or obese. Combined on top of that with
73 now?
yeah, it crossed 73, but that's not counting,
God.
that's counting both obese and overweight. I don't know what the breakdown is
Oh, okay.
between
Well,
both, but I'm sure it's less than 73 for the obese, but still, it's medically
That's insane.
overweight is 73%. It's the highest it's ever been. I believe we crossed Mexico because we were used to be like up and down with Mexico even.
Hmm.
It's not good. It's not good. People's access to health isn't good, and a lot of people think that just educating the public will help the situation, but I think an overhaul is needed in just the way that we conduct our healthcare system. Right now, it's sick care. Not much of it is focused on prevention because that's not billable, right? It's not incentivized by the insurance companies as much as conducting services are. So we're in a bad situation, and things need to desperately change and we need to start seeing patients in a more integrative, holistic approach, as head to toe, as, biopsychosocial, um, both the human structure, biology, and its healing mechanisms, which is what the current medical system only addresses. They only address physical structure, like, oh, some chemicals down in the brain, let's just supplement it with this psychoactive chemical. That's what they do in psychiatrist offices all over the country, is they mix up these cocktails and things like that, like, oh, this, you're low on this transmitter, let's just supplement it there, rather than hitting the root cause on why that's even the case. And then there's the psychosocial aspects of health, which include, one's income level, where they live, their demographics, their education levels, and any traumas they have experienced or are currently experiencing. So it takes into account all these different factors, and that's where healthcare needs to go. And we're starting to see, sparks of that happen, and it's just going to be a slow process, I think.
Yeah, it needs to be. I mean, well, it'd be better if it was fast, I suppose, but it's changing a massive.
I mean, doctors are
incentive system.
Way behind the research. Once the research is conducted, it takes a few years for that research to get put into the curriculum, into universities and medical schools, and then it trickles down quite slowly. And I think it's going to be it's like a cruise ship. It takes a long time to kind of turn, but people are realizing now that, hey, we need to focus on prevention and not letting, because I some crazy statistic, but it's almost like that 80-20 rule, where 80% of our healthcare costs come from only 20% of the population. And we need to kind of prevent that from happening to help. A lot of people are struggling with that right now. And if your health's bad, then what do you really got? It's hard to enjoy a sports car if you can't really walk to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. And for some time context here, it's January 8th, 2021. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. And the way that I see this pandemic is that it's a warning sign. It's a symptom of all of the stuff that you're saying, of like how deeply sick and broken.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. If anything, it was we got lucky with it. It could have been easily 10 times worse. And obviously there's an overreaction on some parts of society and an underreaction in other parts of society to address it. And
can you elaborate on that a little more?
Well, we do wish that, the public education agencies would focus on some of the things that may help prevent the severity of it, such as encouraging, stacking up with different vitamins, on especially certain vitamins, like supplementing with exercise. You're saying?
Which vitamins?
I'm not the leading expert on this, but I know off the top of my head, vitamin D is definitely something that's being talked about and should be looked into as a supplement to prevent the severity and to control the severity of COVID-19.
Yeah, that one's at the top of the list. I heard that vitamin D.
Yeah. I mean, most of the
is like the biggest commonality.
and a large majority of the U.S. population is deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah.
What would have happened if instead of buying a missile to send to Syria, we just bought everybody a vitamin D dose pack and just mailed it out to everybody? We would be able to reduce quite a lot of hardship. There's lots of ideas like that on the table, but don't really get forward. Exercise is a big thing. Building your immune system needs to be top of priority here.
Yeah.
Locking down is not necessarily a long-term solution. We need to figure out different ways here.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I'm being very generous. I'm being very generous when I say that. I mean, I think
get into that
page there. We're on the same page here, and it's ridiculous. It's absurd. All you're doing with the lockdown is just delaying the virus, not necessarily stopping it. And our hospitals, they've been overbooked for the past 20 years. I mean, this is nothing new. These hospital beds being taken up, this 99% overflow is nothing new. And it's a lot of corporate greed that's involved in these places, and our healthcare system is financially incentivized and not incentivized to get you better, because you can't have profits and patient outcomes work together. I mean, if I cure you in one session, that's not billable very much, so something's got to give there. And what we're seeing is more like we're treated like numbers and sheep.
Indeed. Yeah. The medical industrial complex and the pharmaceutical industrial complex are driving policy, and they're
100%. Yeah. Every media company has at least a few pharmaceutical executives on board, because I think 1 in 3 commercials are drug commercials. And you go to other countries and that's just absurd. You wouldn't see that anywhere else. But here we have this really strange phenomenon where and we're being programmed to believe that we need all these medicines all the time, and the body has no innate capability to heal. And I'm on the camp where that says, hey, the body has an amazing capability to heal if we can just unlock those mechanisms and support the mechanisms that would encourage the body to do so. And it starts in the mind.
Yeah, great. Back to that. That's a subject I've been really interested in for at least 10 years, and I've been doing a lot of self-experimentation.
Really? I would love to hear more about that, because I'm only familiar with, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I'm sure you can elaborate more on that too. I'm sure you've gone a bit deeper than I have.
Yeah, well, definitely a great person to check out, Dr. Joe. He really, Dr. Joe Dispenza, let me say it out loud so people can look him up. If you haven't seen him, he really, he breaks it down in a very clear, process-oriented manner that is, I would say, like a pretty good intersection between old-fashioned spiritual concepts and modern-day scientific techniques. It's based on evidence and experience, as well as wisdom teachings. And it's something that I've intuitively felt is going to happen more and more as we evolve, is that the science and the spirituality that
100%.
are coming together.
And I think I'm seeing that right now. And, that explains I'm not the only one that's kind of veering away from the American medical model and looking into more Eastern philosophy and Eastern medical practices and combining the both American Western scientific values with Eastern science. And because, that's lasted tens of thousands of years. There's something to all of that. And Dr. Joe Dispenza has done a great job in synthesizing the both and conducting actual studies. I just got this other book, Mind Over Matter by Dawson Church, and I know he does a lot of the studies on behalf of Dr. Joe Dispenza as well. So yeah, that's been a very eye-opening educational resource for me. I just picked up Becoming Superhuman the other day. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I just started with his YouTube videos. He has a ton. Just starting there, you'll learn a lot of wealth of information, and that's where I see medicine going, is empowering the patient, empowering their self-efficacy and their independence, rather than relying on external devices and external factors.
Yeah.
The placebo effects and the nocebo effect is very real. And if we can kind of trick the body and use the body as a tool in such a way where we can trigger different things that would cause a placebo effect, we can take care of a lot of different health issues, both mental issues, emotional issues, and physical issues as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really think there's a lot in the future of medicine that's moving in that direction. And we're another favorite teacher. I have a couple actually on the subject. Greg Braden, are you familiar with him?
I'm not. I'll have to look him up.
So Greg Braden, but the person who was reading today is Dr. Joseph Murphy. He's a little more old-fashioned. He's like mid last century to late last century. He was a doctor in Los Angeles, and he talks about scientific prayer and how there's actually a method for prayer that you can use to do intentional manifestation, and how most people are praying wrong because they're essentially like praying for things they don't want.
Okay, interesting. That's really interesting. I'd love for you, if you have a quick summary of the technique, I'd love to hear it. If not, I'll have to get the book for sure.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to it, but just briefly, I mean, at the core of it is to understand that God indwells you. Infinite intelligence is within every cell of your being. And when you understand that at a fundamental cellular level, you can heal yourself in every way that you need to, because the energy that creates worlds created you and created me and is creating us as we evolve and as we unfold. And so any illness or disease that we have can be healed by that infinite intelligence that indwells.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
So that's at the base of it. And he talks about, he basically gives people these beautiful divine affirmations to say, and teaches them about removing any kind of toxic or negative behavior that might be holding them back from manifesting what it is that they're manifesting. And it's very beautiful. Like, he just has kind of this like almost like old-fashioned preacher sing-song type of voice that's very calming, and you feel good when you listen to him. So I'd recommend checking out some of his recordings.
I would love to, because I've been getting into prayer recently, and I'm just now learning about its powerful effects. I'd love to talk. This is what we didn't get a chance to discuss very much of in our last talk, was manifesting, and kind of the more of the how-to part of it.
Absolutely.
What are your tips for that? One thing, especially with the prayer, is if you admit lack of something, you're just going to manifest that. So if you're strongly desiring something, you're admitting to the cosmos that you're lacking that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing people need to watch out for is the desire of something is admitting that you lack it. So you have to kind of live in the end, live as if it already happened. And and have
wanting is not having. Wanting is
there you go. That's a good way to.
My wife likes to talk about havingness. You want to have havingness for it, meaning like
I like that.
You're ready to accept it at any moment because you know that in a sense you already have it.
I like that.
But it's what you just said is perfect. That's what he talks about essentially when he's talking about praying for something that you don't want. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Is he saying a lot of people worry and they focus on exactly what they don't want to happen.
They're just attracting more of
it. Therefore, they're just attracting that reality by worrying is praying for something you don't want.
Yes. So, wow, that's a beautifully said.
In terms of manifesting what we do want, it begins with understanding what that is, right? So like first I recommend being able to speak it out loud clearly and be able to write it down clearly. And when you write it down in the present moment. So instead of like, I want to do this, or in the future, this will happen, you say, for instance, when I was manifesting my wife, I put down the words, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm living in harmony with my divine partner.
Wow.
And that left this like really beautiful openness to be like, okay, I don't know exactly who this person is or what they're like, but like, I trust that she will come to me in divine order with divine timing. And so along with that, so being able to describe it first and then be able to like cultivate that feeling within yourself before the circumstance manifests.
Yes, makes sense. Because that's what people miss out on. They make a vision board and they just focus on the thoughts, but they forget that they also have to have the feeling. And that's the most powerful part of it, is they actually have to feel, not only visualize being in the end, but also feeling that. And another tip that I've been using more is, using the first 2 minutes of every morning, right, when you're in that certain brainwave state, and using the last 2 minutes right as you're drifting asleep. And that's where I've read and have experienced very powerful abilities to manifest your imagination in those certain states. And meditation can also unlock a lot of those states as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The theta brainwave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do affirmations in the morning, and I listen to hypnosis tapes at night as I'm going to sleep almost every night.
Do you leave them on the whole time?
No, I usually take it out. I take it out because it's an earbud, so it's not comfortable to sleep with. So I take it out usually after 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I fall asleep with it and take it out. But,
okay. All right. I know some people leave a recording playing the whole night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I was on my own, if I didn't have my wife
and
daughter in bed with me, I would.
Of course.
I used to do that actually.
Really? I would love to try. I need to try that.
I've been pretty steady programming myself for quite a few years now, and
interesting.
I fully bought into how well that works. Like it's amazing the changes that have happened in my life through doing this type of thing. And
I need to pick your brain on it. Where do I learn to construct the exact sentences and the exact wording and phrasing and kind of the structure of what I need to record to have come back at me? Where did you learn that?
Let's do that right now. I mean, I'd recommend highly, once again, Dr. Joseph Murphy for structuring affirmations, or even just like using some of his.
Okay.
And Bob Proctor is another person who I got this information from.
The Proctor Institute.
Proctor Gallagher Institute.
Gallagher, yeah.
He passed along to me that I'm so happy and grateful.
Okay. I'm so happy and
So I
grateful.
recommend starting with "I'm so happy and grateful that," and then describe the condition that you wish to experience or that you will experience, and
Okay.
just structure it like that. And I use that along with some of Dr. Joseph Murphy's affirmations, like "I am divinely guided in all ways. God's peace, love, and harmony indwells me in every moment of every day." Um, Another one that I found recently is from Paul Bragg, who's the creator of Bragg's liquid amino liquid aminos, um,
Interesting.
some health food products. But the affirmation is, "I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom."
I fucks with that a lot. All right.
Yeah. So I'm doing that, and then along with that, I like to just throw in, "I'm a surfer and I ride waves."
I love it. Yeah.
Because I'm out in the ocean a lot also, so like that's a really powerful time to like put out those
Of
affirmations.
course. Yeah. You're already in that brain state, you're living in flow in the
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah.
Um,
And the ocean is a really powerful conductor of energy, right?
wow. I never thought of it like
And
that.
if you think about symbolically, what the water represents is feelings, intuitions, emotions, and the subconscious mind. So like that's where you want your affirmations to be, is in your subconscious. And that's
Of
why you're
course.
like, the ways to reprogram your subconscious mind are a couple ways. Through one is through traumatic experience. So I like to skip that step and go straight to repetition and hypnosis. So what you're saying about the theta state is
Yeah.
like the time when you're the most suggestible.
Yeah, exactly. And I've also used psychedelics with success to get it to do some
Mm, yeah.
self-hypnosis and self cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. But yeah, so getting into repetition, you said, and doing it under the right brain state. Okay.
Hmm. Hypnosis, yeah. And then, as we said, also it's the heart brain coherence.
Yeah, they have to be aligned. How do
So
you
you get,
recommend going about that?
well, so what I've noticed is that like there there are certain things that you can't manifest because they're not in affinity with you and your life path. So
That's just this working, and it's not in coherence with.
well, it's like something that you think you want, but actually like it's not like your higher self knows that that's not the thing for you. So like that's recently that happened with me with um I was spending a lot of time looking into real estate investing and trying to do wholesaling real estate, to essentially just buying and selling properties.
Right.
And I like did all this research and learned a ton about it, and took online courses and was like really obsessing over it for like quite a while, like 6 months. And I was
Makes
doing
sense.
like, a couple hours a day on it, like 5 days a week, if not more. And then just recently I kind of realized like, wow, I'm kind of making myself miserable with this, and like I'm like pushing really hard to like try and make this quick money, but like because it's not in affinity with me, and because I'm kind of like in this effort mode, it's not manifesting
That's a good
exactly
way to
how
put
I
it.
want it to.
Interesting.
Right?
You're
So like
working too hard at it. It's not coming
yeah,
naturally.
yeah. So I believe in this
Forcing
like
it.
ease and grace and flow. Like
Okay. And
when
very
you're in your
interesting.
mode of healing people, for instance, since you're passionate about that, I would imagine that you it doesn't feel like as much of a grind, as opposed to if you're like,
No, I try to be as much of a vessel as possible and
mm,
just kind of let getting my mind calm enough to kind of let energy flow through me.
yeah.
Um, of course, I'm not saying that out loud to my patient, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, they can feel it.
Yeah, it seems like they're getting good results. So something's working. And
Yeah.
my outcomes got greatly improved as I learned
Mm,
these other nonverbal cues and subconscious cues.
mm.
My outcomes got way better.
Yeah, so you're adjusting your vibration when you're doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. When I started looking at it that way and knowing that my capability to heal is directly proportional to how much I've healed myself, right? If your clinician is broken, they're only gonna be able to heal somebody at their own extent of healing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's given
wow.
me incentive to work on myself and heal myself in order to help others.
That's very, very beautifully put. And I also think that it's a metaphor for the larger issues that we were talking about earlier as well. It's like, to the extent that the system is healed will be the extent that it's able to heal people.
Yeah, and
Guess
you know,
what,
and it's
folks?
all individual based. You know, the system won't heal until the weakest link has healed. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm,
as every individual kind of raises their own vibrational levels, then society itself can raise its own levels of, awareness and consciousness too. And it's just as much of external turmoil we're seeing this past year, we're seeing, at least I'm noticing a direct, maybe it was just me, but I'm a direct proportion of internal turmoil happening at the same time
mm,
in a lot of people. Um,
yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
people are going through a lot of emotional and mental changes just as much as the external environment is changing. And that can go both ways, both in a upwards manner or a lower manner.
Hmm. Yeah, we're looking at a collective psycho-spiritual death rebirth process.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So, some aspects of this are taking their dying breath and is giving room for new things to be reborn out of that. And again, both on a micro level and on a macro level as well. And it's going to accelerate.
Yeah, I think there's this feeling, this hope that, like, oh, 2020 is over. Now it's
Yeah,
gonna calm
I think
down.
I think 2021 is just going to be way crazier in the different
Yeah,
ways. Just like just like 2017 was way crazier than 2016, and 2016 was way crazier than 2015. We say that every year, and I don't see how this year is going to be any different. Um, Things are
yeah,
going to get sped up just as they have been. We're already on that trend of speeding up. I see no reason why 2021 will be any different, and things will get way crazier. Hopefully, in
yeah,
a good way, though.
yeah. The trend of acceleration is not
Yeah,
slowing down anytime soon.
it's not slowing down, but I think we're going to see positive changes come out of the ashes here. I'm optimistic
Yeah.
now, at least. Before I wasn't so much. I went through periods of some pessimism, but right now I'm feeling very optimistic.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. I think we need that right now.
Yeah,
Collectively, we
yeah,
need some
exactly.
optimism.
It's be the change that you want to see, and I guess, yeah, having good feelings, feelings of love and optimism are really important right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I identify as a lifelong optimist, and
Yeah,
that
I've always
policy
been
has
like that.
really served me well. Like,
The
it's
My
really served
entire
me.
life I've been overly optimistic about everything. Just a really joyful, happy guy until this summer where something snapped, and for the first time I even wrote it down. I was like, I'm feeling pessimistic. I was telling friends this too. I'm feeling pessimistic for the first time in my life. And but yeah, now I'm back to my old self. So
Great.
that's good. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. Would you like to speak a little bit about why you went there and how you got
Yeah,
out?
we might as well get into it now.
Yeah.
So it's it's looking back at it retrospectively, it's easy to see where things went haywire and where things got kind of back on a good path. But during the moment, at least during this year, um, I had gone through some mental and emotional changes that I didn't even know I was going through at the time. I didn't think the isolation and all of that had any effect on me. I was having a great time. I was on unemployment. I was at home. I was building new projects and working on new things. And I felt fantastic. And if you ask me, I consistently said I'm feeling the best I've ever had. And I said that every single month this year, you know what I mean? Without fail. So during the moments, I didn't know that, you know, perhaps I was, you know, doing something in error. And by error, I mean, I was kind of feeding the wrong wolf inside, if you know what I mean. You know, I was not acting out of love. Um, I was acting from a place of negativity, and that sort of consumed me, and I thought I was going crazy. You know, I thought everybody was blind except me. And, you know, and it was almost like teetering on manic episodes, you know, and I always consider myself extremely mentally strong, you know what I mean? And never would have expected to go through any kind of those symptoms of feeling like loss of mind. You know what I mean? That's the most outlandish thing that could have happened to me. You know, I've been very mentally strong my whole life. So when I started to notice like, oh, you know what, things are, I'm confused why I have this feeling like everybody's blind except me. You know, am I the crazy one? Is everybody crazy? Um, and that, you know, evolved into bad habits. You know what I mean? I was losing friendships. I was, you know, engaging in toxic behavior. And it wasn't until a mentor of mine, you know, he asked me a few hard hitting questions of, you know, why I'm doing the things I am. And I told him that it was because I was broken, you know, and then he's quickly corrected me and said, no, 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 no. You're not broken. Everything's, you know, working as the system should work. But I just had to kind of inner reflect and see why. And there was a period that summer where, you know, at the really peak of my negativity, I had access to some psychedelic mushrooms, right? I had, you know, some psilocybin. And I remember being really scared to take them because I knew that if I took them, that I was going to see some ugly, dark shit. And I knew that there was going to be some major changes that were going to happen if I took that baggie. That, you know, I was going to come out a better person. I knew that, but I was scared of the change. And once I started to reflect and become aware, like, oh my God, I'm scared of getting better or scared of changing my current self or shedding my current self, that's when I knew, like, all right, this is pretty seriously bad. You know what? I've got to face my inner demons. I've got to face my fears. And at the time, you know, and it's funny, you know, as the worst times I had this year were the times I was meditating the least. And the times I was, you know, feeling good were the times I was meditating more. And that was really obvious. So I quickly, you know, started to get on a better path. I started meditating, and things quickly turned around when I had a large dose psychedelic session with LSD. And I had such a powerful, intense, divine experience, religious experience, that brought me to tears. Upon that episode, things literally flipped 180 degrees overnight. And I quickly started acting out of love again because I had forgotten love. And after that, you know, things started manifesting in my favor, I would say.
That's powerful, powerful stuff.
I can get into some details on kind of the how to, yeah. Because I know that I'm not the only one that went through that. Because if it happened to me, it can happen to anybody. The specific tools I used was not only the psychedelics definitely helped, and it helped get such rapid, dramatic change in a short period of time, but was really the winner was the pranayama breathwork, right? Ancient yogic practices that consist of, you know, accelerated breathing combined with evocative music. generally reserved for more shamanic ceremonies. And I've had a handful of life-changing realizations and life-changing sessions just using breathwork itself.
Mm-hmm.
I've experimented with using it in conjunction with a psychedelic and also without any external substance as well. And I noticed that it was really powerful. And I'm sure some of our audience has heard of or has tried the Wim Hof technique, right? Which is generally 10-minute. It's a 10-minute experience generally, and you can get some awesome effects just from that.
Mm-hmm.
This is imagine doing the Wim Hof thing for 2 to 3 straight hours.
Wow.
And that's holotropic breath work, developed
Uh-huh.
by Dr. Stan Groff.
Yeah.
Dr. Stan Groff, you've heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
He was doing all these research sessions with LSD, and when they made it illegal, he wanted his patients to get those same therapeutic benefits without using the now illegal substance. So he developed holotropic breathwork as a protocol to mimic and simulate those higher states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Just using your breath. It's really amazing. You don't need any equipment. And this is something that I'm now doing professionally as well. Had such life-changing experiences using it that I quickly found it to be like a huge passion of mine. I said, okay, if I can get such a life-changing experience from it, it's my life's mission to share this with other people because it's so simple. Yeah. And anybody can do it, and it has a high upside and no downside, no risk. And it's extremely easy to implement in somebody's life. So I think we're going to all wake up to that soon, and it'll be more of a common household term, breathwork.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I'm fully on board with that. I think, so one more time, Dr. Stan Groff and holotropic breathwork. If you guys want to look that up, highly recommend looking into his work as well. I've listened to some speeches from him.
A documentary of his life just came out.
Oh, really?
Way of the Psychonaut, I believe is what it was called, or I might be mistaken, but I think that's what it was called.
Wow.
I'll confirm it. But
that's exciting.
That is, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that is supposed to be an amazing movie.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'm definitely in affinity with.
Yeah, it's called The Way of the Psychonaut.
Wow.
Based on his book by the same title.
Stan Groff is a very interesting guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just quickly, one of my favorite quotes from him is that LSD for psychotherapy is like the telescope for astronomy, or the microscope for biology.
Yes, exactly correct. Because I gotta say, man, and this is something I've heard from a lot of other people that have tried these substances but can't publicly admit it, is that some of these sessions are like squeezing 10 years of therapy, traditional therapy, in an instant.
Yeah.
And the dramatic therapeutic realizations I've gotten from raising consciousness using things like meditation, like breath work, like float tanks, and different substances is extremely ignored by the mainstream medical system. Now we're getting some great research coming out of Johns Hopkins that I think is we're on our next, psychedelic revolution right now. We're witnessing it, which is great. Yeah. But I think things are going to get kind of squirrely too. You sign up for a smoking cessation, quit smoking, clinical study, and they say, oh, try this LSD and you'll quit smoking, and these people, they not only come out without that addiction, but they come out now believing in God.
Yeah.
Or they come out, healing past trauma or past abuse, and they're coming out with these divine realizations. Hardcore atheists are just going into this clinic to quit smoking. They're coming out like, you know, shamans.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I think we're going to start seeing more of that, because I don't think people realize yet that it's not anything in the substance itself that's making you quit smoking. It's the divine experience itself that's inspiring you to act as your own creator and give you that ability to just, you know, heal yourself or quit any bad habit.
Yeah, to love yourself.
Yeah, and this is something we spoke about last time, and this is something I've studied with my own interactions with patients and clients, is what is the impetus for behavior change? How can I get somebody to do something healthy for themselves? And it's, you know, knowledge is not the answer. The public thinks education is the answer. You know, all smokers know smoking is bad for you. Everybody everybody knows to diet. Everybody knows they have to exercise. Why aren't we doing it? And you hit on the nail. It's all comes down to self-love. And they're all directly proportional. The more you love yourself, the more you're going to be inspired to change yourself and to do things that won't self-harm you. You know, such as smoking or something like that. And I've had an experience where I was addicted to that stuff for, you know, 7-8 years. And within a few hours, I was able to kick the habit, and it's lasted permanently.
Wow.
I haven't had any inkling since.
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
Wow.
8 years. And within one session of, it was a high dose. It was 400 micrograms. And it wasn't even my therapeutic intention to even tackle that problem. In fact, I don't know if I don't think I've told you the story. So I had this pack on me, right? And I had like a few left. So, and it was my favorite brand, you know, and it was something I've always smoked for like many, many years. So, and then I took I took a few, and then later in the session, I wanted to, like, you know, make it a recreational session. I wanted to watch cartoons and watch movies and stuff, but the substance didn't let me, you know, and it made me look inward, and it's like it was telling me to, you know, heal, you know, and all of a sudden I got this inspiration of self-love, and I realized, like, hey, I knew I had quit it as soon as I did. It was literally a flip of a switch.
Wow.
And the moment that I knew I quit, I just knew it. And in fact, I had one left in the box, and I said, I'm going to go outside and smoke it just to celebrate quitting. Because I just knew without a doubt that it was done. And like, I just use this last one to celebrate quitting, right? And I couldn't even get through 3 puffs of it because it tasted like vomit.
Wow.
So that's interesting. This is my favorite brand. And I couldn't even get through it. So, like, okay, 3 months later, I tested it again. Tastes like vomit. 6 months later, like vomit. And I also tested it 1 year later. Same thing. Couldn't even get through it. And that's when I knew, like, this is permanent. This is really interesting. It was literally hypnosis.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that can apply to anything, you know. Like when I had that life-changing, you know, breathwork session over the summer that kind of made me flip from negative to positive. It was after I had that, I must have, you know, was breathing, you know, rapidly for 2 to 3 hours, and after that, I must have cried like almost violently for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
And the tears were coming out of my tear ducts like a running faucet. Like it was what felt like many cups of tears, like just an absurd amount, and coming out like just gushing. It was such an energy release, which I now know that can be described as like chakras or chi. that's what that was. And it was very evident that there were certain chakras that were activated, and we're now allowing that energy flow. And I never used to believe in chakras and chi before I experienced them subjectively.
Yeah, which ones do you know?
Yeah. So definitely the heart chakra was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, the sacral one, the one by the belly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like the sacral is in second or third?
third.
Okay.
Third. Second two.
That's
The
the
second two.
solar plexus.
Solar plexus. That's what I meant. Yeah. Yeah. This is the solar one. Very, very interesting. And then the Hindu system goes into nadis as well. Do you know about that? NADI?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. So then I got experiences during that breathwork session with the nadis as well, and becoming aware of those and getting energy release from them as well. Really fascinating. And I'm only able to talk about it because I've had the experience. But before that, I never used to believe in any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to touch on what you said about the opening of chakras and especially the heart. I had a friend recently who had I guess not that similar of experience, but an opening of the heart, and it was like a release of 10 years worth of tears is what he said.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what it was for me too. Exactly.
And I think especially as males, we're kind of given this programming that we really 100%. Shouldn't express our emotions in that way.
100%. And I do cry. I think more than what maybe older generations of males do, but not like that. That was something really weird.
Release.
Yeah, it was a release, and it wasn't sadness tears either. It was tears of gratitude. It wasn't even like joy either. It was of gratitude, because what was making me cry so much was a realization of God. And it was a realization of that a higher self was watching me, right? Because during the breathwork session, I was revisiting myself in different traumatic situations of my past. And I was watching over. And I knew that I was there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if I was watching over him at that time, that means right now, my future self is watching over me right now. You know what I mean? And that really, really clicked. And that's what made me cry uncontrollably, was that like, wow, something's watching over me. And it's laid out such a path that I had to go through that traumatic experiences. And I could see that path like a road. I could see that point A, B, C, D, E to get to here. To get me to realize these things, I had to go through all those things. And it was just so beautiful. Yeah, so that was very, very intense. That was probably the most intense I've cried ever.
Wow. Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's an amazing vision, amazing experience to have.
Yeah. After that, I was convinced, like, okay, this is something that I've got to share with other people.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, and there's something that came up when you were saying that also, is that, again, oftentimes the males of the species, but females too, like we have this thing called a heart wall. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And so that, for those who haven't heard of that, is essentially like a hardening of the heart. So in order to protect ourselves from emotional trauma, usually coming from heartbreak or from ways that we were not loved by our parents or significant caregivers or whatever when we were young, we start to put up these heart walls to protect ourselves. But the horrible side effect of that is that we kind of like block ourselves off from like experiencing that like true deep divine love for ourselves and for those around us.
Yeah, very well said. And just those words are really poignant too. Heart wall, like it's literally a blockage of
Yeah.
the heart, you know what I mean? And that can be noticed both physically, structurally, but also um, emotionally as well. So it's a very, very good term for it. I
Yeah,
think.
while we're on that subject, I want to share one more thing, which is that I had, so my experience with this was that I had some pretty hurtful, disappointing experiences with love in my young years, like, 16, 17, 18. And I didn't realize how much of a heart wall I had put up. But following that, I could never commit to anybody. I was just like continuously emotionally unavailable in any relationship I would start, and it would only last for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever. But I always had that wall up. And then um, this girl like really really fell in love with me and made herself incredibly vulnerable in like admitting this to me and showing it to me. And I still had my wall up, and like I really tried actually to to be with her and to make it work, and we were actually engaged to be married. But that whole time I still had it, and I still had it, and she knew it was there, because women know, like they can read your emotional landscape like a book,
Yeah,
and
right,
we
right,
can do
right.
that as men also, but the woman's intuition is talked about for a reason, so
Yes, yes, yes.
she knew, and she, and I knew that she knew, and it was like it was hurting us both so much, but I just couldn't let it go. And eventually we had this really heartbreaking separation, and kind of went back and forth, trying to get back together and make it work, and then breaking up again. And I really emotionally dragged her through it because I was in that place of unavailability. And then finally she did the same thing to me. Like I had almost come around and realized what I was doing. And I was like, this is horrible. Like I cannot do this to her anymore. I need to open myself up and really give myself to her and show myself to her. And right after I did that, she did the same thing to me. Like she was like, no, like you've put me through too much, and I can't I I can't take anymore. Like I'm just done. And at that moment I had something like what you're talking about, where all that pain and all those tears that I had been keeping inside and trying to pretend that didn't exist just came out of me all at once. And we were at the temple at Burning Man, which is a place of grieving loss, and is a really energetically intense place. Like people go and they bring like memories of their loved ones in this kind of ritualistic letting go ceremony. And at the end of Burning Man, the temple is burned down. It's kind of this release of that old
That's
stuff
amazing.
energy. And so we had that final breakup in that place, and I had that feeling of as I said, really letting go of what I'd been holding on to for so long. And at the time, I just felt horrible. Like it hurt so much. And also, while I was going through it, I was understanding that this is what I had done to her. So I was not only feeling it for myself, but knowing that this was the pain that she had been feeling because of what I was doing. And this was all, I actually made a painting about this that's called Heart Projections on a Desert Landscape. And it's this scene of Burning Man with this narrative of my personal love story unfolding in this place. And it's actually something that happens at Burning Man quite often, because it's a place that brings up.
It's so charged.
Yeah, it's extremely emotionally charged, and it's a little bit like a pilgrimage trial by fire. Like there's some sort of like real endurance challenge element to it that doesn't really exist with most other like festival. I hesitate to even call it a festival because it's kind of something completely different, but the physical challenge of it and the heat and the intensity and the energy really like it's like puts your relationship into this like pressure cooker or something, and a lot of people like do have that type of purging experience there. And so after that it took some time for me to heal, but it was also like, as they say, like your heart can be broken open.
Wow. Yeah.
So the heart walls were actually removed, and I realized that I could never do that to anybody again, and or myself. Like it was just a really challenging experience in a lot of ways, and it led me in a sense to where I am now, because I realized I had to do something completely differently, and then I went about manifesting my divine partner once I had begun my healing process and been alone for a while. I was like, okay, I see that lesson and I can move forward and create something different now.
Yeah. Wow. You needed that experience, it's to be able to attract something greater. So, sometimes in the moment of hardship, it's hard to be grateful for it. I think Ram Dass always says, suffering is grace.
Yeah, I was.
That's hard to swallow. Yeah.
It's funny and I was very I was very dramatic about it at the time too, because I was just like,
yeah, I bet.
Like,
that's natural though.
Why
that's natural.
Burning Man? I was like,
that's natural. Yeah.
Like, couldn't we just wait?
Yeah, couldn't wait till after it's done.
A week and enjoy our Burning Man?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, I said beforehand, I was like, please don't break up with me at Burning Man. Like, you can do whatever you want. I can do whatever I want, but we don't have to do this here.
Yeah.
But we did, in a sense, it was like, and it did end up being a, really, really beautiful and healing experience. And the next year I came back to Burning Man and went back to the temple again and again, and had this beautiful perspective of the cycle, and like how much I had changed,
how much you've grown since then. Yeah.
Healed.
Did she go through a similar experience?
She did. Yeah. I mean, I think felt really liberated in that moment, because she had been holding on to this hope that I was going to, be the one for her. And when she finally let that go, it was like, this liberation from what had been causing her so much pain. So she did. Yeah. We haven't talked a ton recently, so I haven't really got
but
the update, but of course we still love and care about each other and wish each other well. We didn't leave with animosity or anything.
Of course. Yeah, that's very important. Especially if you did do that, it's very important to go back and forgive and to kind of rewrite that past.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually, so I'm writing a book about manifestation.
Oh, really? Dude, I got to pick your brain on that, man, because I'm very new to it. I'm very new to it.
If you'd like, I want to have some people read it before I publish it. So if you want to just check it out, I'd be happy to.
I'd love to give you some constructive feedback on it too,
Yeah, I'll send you the manuscript.
Yeah, that'd be very helpful.
What I was going to say about that, though, in regards to what we were just talking about, was that forgiveness is a really useful, powerful tool for manifestation.
I'm just starting to learn that. I have to admit that, again, perhaps some of it is fear. I know that's something I need to do, but I haven't done the work seriously. I've just kind of superficially forgived, but I haven't gone deep enough, I don't think, yet. So that's something that I'll have to be working on soon, is going back and forgiving myself and anything else or anyone else that I put blame on. So yeah, that's something. And then what I've also read that you need to rewrite the memory. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say, before you spend that much time on anything else, do that first. And in terms of rewriting the memory, you're exactly right. There's a piece about that in the book too, which is we can't change the past, but we can change our perception of the past.
Yeah, I think just by the act of doing that may transmute you to a new reality.
It does, yeah. Exactly right.
I have these books, I've heard Neville Goddard, and I have Vadim Zeland, and he has, his volumes 1 through 4 of transmutation, but I haven't gone into it that deep yet. But I'm very open to these concepts because I've had some powerful manifestation experiences happen to me, even as recently as 2 weeks ago, like really intensely powerful manifesting abilities. Like, oh wow, I can't believe I did that, but I intentionally did those things. And so I know that I am capable of doing so, and I would like to improve my vibrational alignment, enough to do that more consistently and more powerfully, and for the good of others too. So a new practice I started doing was praying for others. Again, I knew for a long time that that's something I should do, but I never actually did it. And that's something I'm getting in the habit with. Or I would pray for, my patients, pray for other people that are going through hardships, and just sending, love and light to the world. And not focusing on manifesting things for myself, but I'm starting to get more joy of manifesting things for others.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to do it.
Yeah, again, I'm new to it, but it's something that I'll need to keep getting better at.
Yeah, again, Dr. Joseph Murphy has some really good material about that.
Yeah, that's something
because
we need to.
I think there's, right now. In a sense, like what we really have control over is our own manifestations and our own reality, our own little piece of reality, a perception of reality. So what, like, for instance, what's coming to my mind right now is a mother who has so much care and love for their children, but they oftentimes turn that into that concept of praying for something you don't want by kind of like projecting these things that they want to happen in their children's lives.
Oh my gosh.
It's like they think they know what's best for you, right?
Oh my gosh.
They're trying to do it out of this like goodwill.
Right, yeah.
But they're in fact like kind of giving you this energetic weight that is both a weight
so true,
on
so
you
true.
and on them.
How do we get this knowledge out there fast enough? Because if everybody knew this, and everybody, well, knowing is one thing, but everybody believed it to be true. Think of how much better our society would be, and
Absolutely.
But it's something that, that's too ideal. You can't just mail everybody your book and just expect them to read it and believe it, and it's going to take time for that cruise ship to kind of turn. And I think what's going on is reawakening a lot of these things in people, everybody's, divine powers, because everybody knows this. They just have forgotten, that they're the creator of themselves and their reality. And as we all start to wake up to our powers, I think only then will we start seeing more greater change.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, man. And I've got to thank, these different modalities like meditation and float tanks and psychedelics to even giving me the knowledge to do that. You know what I mean? I've taken notes in my early psychedelic sessions and journals, and I would literally write down the instructions on how to manifest things. And that's before I even knew that this was a thing. And I'm like, oh wow, like people have already written books on something I wrote in a few sentences, but I came to those ideas independently. And then later I realized, like, wait, ideas, you're the receiver. You have a transceiver in your head of ideas. And ideas don't come from within you. You're an attracted to ideas. And I'm sure you would agree with that too, right? Especially with creative inspiration. A lot of our artist listeners will know this to be true, is that, all these creative sparks and realizations and ideas is something that's floating in the ether, and you're just kind of fishing and capturing it. And I've had intense experiences, again, under psychedelics, where I'm almost seeing a river of knowledge and ideas, and being able to capture from that.
Wow. So is that when that type of thing, is that like a closed eye in darkness, or what are you doing physically with your body?
That time my eyes were open, but I wasn't seeing it, but it was an understanding that there's this, it felt like a river, and it was flowing from right to left for some reason. And it was, that to me was just how my brain was interpreting this flow of energy and ideas. And then later, after doing some reading, I realized that this is an actual thing, that certain ideas come to you once you get in vibrational alignment to them. And this is, you're familiar with, what's her name? Abraham.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what the full
Abraham Hicks?
Abraham Hicks. Yes.
Esther and Jerry.
Esther. Yes. And I went through a few weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, I was obsessed with their videos on YouTube. And then she always talks about this concept of ideas, and you have to be in vibrational alignment to certain concepts, ideas, and things for you to attract them. And so she puts it very nicely. I need to get her book too.
It's a great book. Yeah. Asking it is given.
That's it, dude. You're on it, man. That is.
If you want to do manifestation, that's a real good
she
one.
Puts it, I like her style.
I
really enjoy the way she puts it. And I listened to this other podcast, Synchronicity, with Noah Lampert.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, it's very, very good.
Sounds like I can check it out.
I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Noah Lampert is such a beautiful soul, and his whole show is about manifesting. And it's again, it's called Synchronicity. It's on the MindPod network. He's just such a great guy. He has interviews, and he also has solo casts where he's just explaining his thoughts on manifesting and techniques and things like that. So yeah, cool. you really enjoy it.
Yeah, it sounds like we would have a lot in common.
For sure. If anything, he's a good model for what a podcast should be. So he's not only killing it from his topics, but also killing it in terms of the production value of his show. It's really beautifully done.
Awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited to check it out. And for a note about Abraham Hicks, so Esther and Jerry Hicks are this couple who you could say discovered, they channel a non-physical entity.
They're channeling Abraham, they named Abraham
Hicks.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is that they're essentially this entity is giving us this higher perspective of what we're not seeing because of our state of being in physical bodies.
Have you heard of the actuarians? I heard somebody talking about, like, again, these intelligent beings that people are channeling through. And I know Ram Dass, even I have a few of his books that he did with this channeler, the psychic channeler of this ghost. I forgot what the ghost's name was. He had like a funny name, but he would channel these information from this non-physical entity, and then he would ask it questions, and the lady would kind of channel and translate it out. Really interesting stuff. It's really out there, but once I opened myself to getting into it, there's some really cool information I think that we can all learn from.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting, the idea that you can get in touch with an entity like that, and that
Yeah,
they maybe, ever present in our
for sure,
reality, but
for
we're just
sure.
not tuned in.
Yeah, we're not tuned into it, and I was never open to this idea. I thought it was complete wacko until I had some DMT sessions, and and actually interacted with entities that, people like to say, oh yeah, that was just all in your head. Like, I don't know, man. That did not feel like it was in my head. I felt like I was actually somewhere, and there were external intelligent beings um, that were either telepathically communicating with me or fucking with me in different ways.
For both.
The jester definitely has fucked with me in many ways.
Oh yeah,
Where
I've heard they do that.
yeah, and I had met some other interacted with other beings in another session where they were showing me true meanings of love and what life is about, and so it can go. You can meet all kinds of characters out there.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah, and
crazy thing
another.
is, what do you think? Are they in your subconscious or are they actually real?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that I think I think they exist in a different dimension, because
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
different people can visit the same entities and
Exactly.
describe the same landscape,
Exactly.
and you can
Exactly.
go
That's
back
what
to
throws
the
me
same
off.
place.
Yeah. And I've met the same gesture twice in different experiences. But again, that just might be me. But when I see other people draw the same gesture, or like Alex Gray's art,
That's
and I look at Alex
that's a
Gray's art and it's like, dude, I've been there.
good.
You know what I
Alex
mean?
Gray does an incredible job of describing this stuff
Yeah,
visually.
something that's so ineffable. And yeah, he
Uh-huh.
does a great job.
He's amazing. I took a class with him one time,
Really,
and him and his wife are both just really beautiful, kind souls who are,
I can
they're
imagine. Wow.
here to serve humanity, and really, just create beautiful art.
Wow.
It was very cool to meet them. Actually took a drawing class, an anatomy drawing class
Yeah.
Alex
And
from Alex Gray while
I
I was
love
in
his
LSD.
anatomical art, and being in the anatomical industry, and as part of my
Yeah.
schooling, I dissected a human body,
Oh wow.
from skin to bone,
Mhm.
and then seeing and holding like a human heart in your hands, and um, knowing
Mhm.
the body on that kind of intimate level, and then
Wow.
seeing his artistic renditions of that mixed with spirituality and psychedelia is so beautiful, so amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah, then that's something that him and Leonardo da Vinci have in common.
Yes, exactly,
That
exactly.
that experience in dissecting cadavers.
Right, 100%. And and there's a few anatomical artists. Another one is Netter, Netter, who does all the illustrations in medical textbooks. But these guys are just phenomenal. Um,
It's a depth of understanding that most people don't ever get.
Yeah, yeah. And when you realize how complicated the human body is and how amazingly it is, it's hard to be, it's hard to know, it's hard to think it just came out of nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so intricate and complex and so beautiful that you just get a deeper appreciation for your own. You start treating your body like it's a temple once you start to realize how magical it is, and you take it less for granted.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful message. That's I I have a couple different directions I'm interested in going from here. So let me
Yeah, we could talk about anything, man.
let me think. We got a number of different roadways. So let's stick with the art for a sec. Are there any other artists who you find to be really interesting or inspiring?
Uh, hmm. Just musical artists right now. Nobody in the physical art, like um, sculpture or painting or drawing space for me, because I haven't explored that as much. But I'm really liking East Forest. East Forest, the
Yeah.
musical artists. I'm really liking their stuff right now.
Nice. Perfect. Some vibrations, some waves passing through.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, let's go in this direction then. It's a very interesting time in the world right now, and I want
we can
to
talk
get
about
into some
current
current
events.
events.
Definitely, yeah.
This is like, I think what you went through this summer is something that really a lot of people probably went through similar things, because
and some people are still there.
Some people are still there, and some people are going to go there. So it's really important.
100%.
100%. One of the things that comes to mind is that isolation is, in my opinion, deeply harmful and unnatural.
It is, and also to the body's immune system is really correlated with interacting with other beings and sharing their microbiome with the rest of the world. That's just the physical side, right? Also, your immune system is highly affected by your emotional and mental faculties. Feelings of worry and fear. Fear is actually the worst thing you can do for your immune system. And that's literally, I think everybody is at their maximum level of fear, the general public, with everything that is going on with the way the news is conducted. It's nonstop fear. And that's probably why deaths are up in a big portion.
Certainly a big factor, and we're not addressing it at all. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch, because it's like,
it's like, am I the only one that's seeing this?
Yeah. We have this global health crisis, and we're intentionally taking these measures
that's hurting health,
making it worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, look at suicides; they're up like 500%, and it's or something wild like that, between 200 and 500%. It's insane, and it's and these closures of small businesses. I have a big heart for small business owners. Having had small businesses myself, and it's really disgusting what's going on with how people are just okay with certain government agencies having such power over their lives. And I've always believed that happiness lies in freedom. And I think we're seeing a large restriction of freedom that's getting accelerated year by year. And we're all being kind of brainwashed to celebrate it.
Yeah, or at least to accept it passively.
100%.
And there's an incredible amount of social pressure to accept it, which has been another difficult.
That's something new because of social media. You know what I mean? Like, now you're shamed if you go against the media's narrative. You know what I mean? Before, a revolutionary wouldn't agree with all the companies and all the media. You know what I mean? Now it's like, if you go against big corporations are saying, then you're a Nazi, or you are grandma killer, or you're or you get shamed in the public space. And I'm sure I've broken a lot of different relationships coming out and sharing my truths about what I think is going on with the way things are being done. And a lot of times my opinions may not agree with the common mainstream media's opinions on how things are being done, and it's impossible to share it because you'll just get censored. You know what I mean? And that's become a very big problem right now.
Yeah, that's, in my opinion, one of the most scary parts about it. So
as of today, the Twitter and a lot of other major social media accounts just banned our president.
Totally.
I mean, that's setting, whether you agree with it or not, that's setting a very serious precedent for the future. You know what I mean? And libertarians may argue like, hey, make your own Facebook or make your own Twitter. They're private companies, they're allowed to do what they're allowed to do. But people did try that. People did try making Parler. People did try these other making their own third-party social media apps, only to get crushed by Apple and Google. I don't know if you've heard, but I think Parler just got removed from the App Store. You know, so even when you do go to try to create some private network, the big guys still try to squash you any way they can.
Yeah, so they're the biggest monopolies that we've ever seen in history.
Yeah, and the people running Congress and in charge, they're 80 years old and they don't even barely know how to use email, let alone pass legislation that's going to seriously address the dangers of big corporations and big tech and big pharma, and it's really scary.
Yeah, they're obviously and unapologetically both taking a political stance and censoring people who disagree with that stance.
Yeah, science has become politicized. Leading scientists can't even agree on the death rate. You can't even agree how many people have COVID. You can't agree on. We don't have good data on how many people are actually dying from it, not dying with it. Right? Thousands of people die with glasses every day. Does that mean,
Yeah.
so we have a very bad, and Elon Musk has said this too, and I agree with him. We have very bad data, and we're making policies and legislation and again, social pressure based on bad data.
Exactly. That's well said. I got attacked on social media actually for raising that exact point.
Yeah, we can't even agree on the death rate. How many people are dying? How can you?
Yeah.
We have to start with the fundamental basics of this thing before we can go further. If we can't even agree on something that simple and that fundamental, then it's all hot air. All this discussion.
And when we're it seems like there are forces that are intentionally trying to crash the global economy.
100%.
And
the World Economic
small,
Forum.
medium businesses.
Yeah, it's very intentional. It's very
control humanity, right?
Yeah, it's like it's speeding up, and they've gone on record saying they don't want you to own anything.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, there's that, but I don't even want to get into all of the World Economic Forum stuff. I just want to get into
spit on my computer screen when you said that.
But
watch out, you might catch it.
Yeah. Oh man. Dude,
just kidding. I don't have COVID. I got tested.
It's bad, man.
It's really scary.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I'm very optimistic still, but seeing people what really saved me from these, mental instabilities and emotional instabilities was really tending to the garden that you can touch, right? That Buddha is saying you must tend to the garden you can touch. And when I think about these psyops done by the mainstream media to brainstorm people, it's so evident and so blatant that the news is lying intentionally. And people are being harmed intentionally. And when you realize that, it's really hard to share it because again, you can get in a lot of social trouble. But if you start to tend to the garden you can touch, you can't even worry about that stuff. You just worry about yourself and improving yourself and being the change that you want to see in others. And that's all you have the power to do. And if it's your life mission to capture pedophiles or to stop the mainstream media from doing their thing, then so be it. But if that's not your life's mission, I've learned that, I just need to tend to the garden that I can touch, worry about my mission, and it's someone else's mission to solve those problems. I guess that's just kind of what's helped me. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's some of the best advice we can get right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can get myself physically sick ranting about the things that we're noticing with our current political situation and excess government regulation and just my parents are still Lysoling the mail. You know what I mean? Like It's like, what, you're going to do that forever? Are you going to do it forever? Because you might as well. It's not like COVID's going to go away. The flu doesn't go away, right?
Yeah, no, it's just here.
It's just here. How is this any different? It's still going to be here year to year.
That's
you know what I mean? And locking down until case count is 0 is not a good option. You know,
it's a horrible option. I mean, I
they
would be totally.
They keep moving the goalposts.
Totally,
you know, and
I would, yeah, that they keep moving the goalposts. I would be, and have always been of that mind of tending the garden you can touch, until they started trying to lock me in my fucking house or tell me I can't go to the beach.
Dude, in Australia, like, okay, they locked them in with guns.
What is going on right now?
Yeah. Like, they had armed guards in front of apartment complexes that were locked down. And
it's horrible, yeah.
It's really sick. It's really crazy, yeah. So expect that to happen again.
I think it's
like, this doesn't worse. This only gets worse, I think. If we were so permissive, like, oh, please take away our freedoms this easily, people are taking notes, like, oh, it was that easy to just get these people to do our bidding. The next time they're gonna take a bigger bite. They're not gonna take smaller bites now. You know what I mean? They can't. Yeah. It's just not how the system works. So they're gonna take bigger bites next time, and you know, and it's man, I want to escape the grid and, you know, live on a farm somewhere. That would be really nice. But this doesn't get better. But so how do I reconcile that feeling that I don't see things getting better with optimism that things do get better? So I'm still, part of me is still battling that. But I'm definitely more optimistic than I am fearful, you know, because I know that, you know, if the armed guards do come and lock us in our house again, at least we're all going through it. And hey, you know what really helped me was that knowing that my soul fucking signed up for this. Right? Yeah. Right? When my soul entered my body here, he knew the deal, right? Yeah. He chose to manifest itself in 2020. You know, like, this is all on purpose. So all we can do is, you know, gather the lessons and enjoy the ride.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that. That's an uplifting message. I definitely get into some thought loops about this. But I have a young daughter at home, and she constantly brings us back to the present moment. And
beautiful. And that's what children do. Also, it's so awesome.
You know, gives us continuous hope for the future and wanting to build a better world. And so that's been, you know, just an amazing blessing actually of this time period, is that my wife and I have both been able to really spend a lot of time with our daughter and all together. So that's a beautiful thing, and I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, you're getting blessed in many ways. Last time we talked, you said you had a pretty major crypto holding, and that's doing very well right now. As of this talk, you know, crypto is over $40,000. It's hovering between $40,000 and $42,000 per coin.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I bought a significant amount of Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrencies right at the right time, right after the crash. And that's the best investment I've ever made.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, at least financially, the best investment.
Financially, it was my investment too. It's just, I never put in too much at the beginning. I got my first. When did you get first into Bitcoin? What year?
Well, the first time I did, I sold my car for Bitcoin, actually.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, that ended up, I wish I had held on to that, of course. It was.
You sold it as it peaked.
I sold my car when Bitcoin was around like 5,000 or 6,000, and I held on to it for a little while and made some money off of it, but, you know, kind of eventually sold the Bitcoin and spent the money. But I ended up getting like basically a couple extra grand for my car that was kind of old. So
that's pretty good.
It worked out well.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So the other thing that happened with that is I learned how to use Bitcoin, and I learned how to buy and sell it.
Right. Yep.
And then after the market crash happened, I was already familiar, and I was like, oh, okay, like now's the time.
Yeah.
And divinely blessed and guided, infinitely blessed and guided in all ways.
What are your thoughts on Ethereum?
I bought some of that too. It's been doing well also.
I sold a bunch of my Bitcoin this evening.
Oh, really?
And I bought Ethereum with it.
And went for the Ethereum. Nice. Why do you do that?
I do believe there's more upside with Ethereum.
Yeah, there could be.
Yeah, because if Ethereum's at 1,200 right now, and Bitcoin is, crossed 40, Ethereum has a larger chance to double. It's more realistic that Ethereum doubles at least quicker than Bitcoin's going to reach 80,000. I do think Bitcoin will reach over 100,000. I do think so.
Really.
But if Bitcoin reaches 100,000, Ethereum will at least double or triple.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because if BTC is at 100K, Ethereum is not going to stay at 1,200. It might raise to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And if Ethereum can get to 5,000, then I'll be much richer, at least financially, because I'm doing this for an investment purpose, right?
Sure.
I'm not doing it as a utility thing. So I'm going to get way more financially blessed. Let's say if I put it all in Ethereum and let that go to 5K rather than holding the Bitcoin I had to 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it'll reach 100,000, but I had to move it to something with more upside and more double and triple potential. Because if I triple my current holdings right now, that'll be life-changing wealth, as opposed to just leaving it all in Bitcoin and just letting it grow. Because the max, it'll have a cap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're both gonna really make significant changes. I think we have holdings in both, and some
I lost a bunch in Ripple, unfortunately.
What's that?
I lost a bunch of money in Ripple.
Oh, you did?
I sold out a big loss there. Yeah, it's a shame because the week before I doubled it. I had like a crazy amount of profit, and I didn't set a stop loss. And then the next day it just crashed.
Oh man!
Due to the lawsuit, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I made up for the losses in other ways, so it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't care.
I had a similar experience, and it was a pretty small amount of money in Ripple, but I was like, dang, I should have sold it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit on that. What do you know about? Can you speak about cryptocurrency a little bit and why you think it's important?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I got my first Bitcoin when it was $400.
Nice.
Too bad I only got one. But that was all the money I had at the time. So I've always been pretty bullish on it. I can't say I'm any expert in its technical explanations of it, but what I do know is that a lot of smart people are getting it. A lot of institutions are getting it, and these billionaires aren't dumb. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, and a lot of other people have done their homework with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and they're all very bullish on it. So I said, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So I kind of went all in on it.
That's a good philosophy.
I do that with a lot of things. It's kind of leveraging what other smart people are doing, and it's like, hey, I like this smart person for everything else they do, and they're also getting into crypto. Let's say, I'll consider it too, much strongly.
Yeah, the smart money is definitely buying into Bitcoin and Ethereum too.
And they wouldn't buy it unless they knew the value was going to go up. So I'll take the ride with them, and we'll get a few Lambos out of it. And
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this year especially, I think the macroeconomic climate is really conducive to the power of Bitcoin and what it represents. And what I mean by that is it's the opposite of fiat currency, which is essentially money by decree.
I heard it described really interesting. I'm sorry to interrupt, but somebody said just like the difference between mail and email is the difference between fiat and crypto.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I just heard that yesterday.
I think one way I like to think about it is that the fiat money is the government's money,
Yeah,
enforced
it's
by the
by
government.
decree. It's
By
thin air.
decree, yeah.
It's thin air. It's not backed by anything.
It's backed by men with guns.
Yeah.
and
look how fragile our system is anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I
Look
mean?
how fragile it is, exactly.
I don't like when the aliens come, people might go berserk and things might crash, you know.
Things will, yeah. But Bitcoin is the people's money, and it's anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Meaning that even like a team of governments working together wouldn't have the power to actually take it down in a hostile
exactly.
takeover.
And look at people in Venezuela and things like that now putting their assets into something more stable than their countries. That's very possible to happen if America were to crash.
Well, it's already happening.
It is. Well, that's why the money's moving from one place to the other.
That's why Bitcoin went up so much when we started printing so much money.
Exactly. It's very true. Yep. So Bitcoin, I've heard, is going to be the storage of digital gold, right? So it's going to be like used as a storage utility. And I heard Ethereum be described as digital oil.
That's
because
cool.
of its use.
The fuel.
Again, I don't know much about it. All I know is that I just hope it triples.
Yeah. Or more.
Yeah, not even hope. I just know it will. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
It will.
It already has since I got it. So.
Yeah, it already has, and I got in really late. I got in Ethereum very recently, and I got a whole bunch more of this evening. So I know it's already at the top, but I'm very, very bullish on it.
Oh yeah, the best time to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum was
yesterday.
Yesterday or 10 years ago, and the second best time is right now. So
yes. So I'm not regretting that decision at all. I've set my stop losses, and I'm just ready for the ride.
Yeah, totally. Super exciting. I think really life-changing wealth is coming to a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people and a lot of new millionaires that are our age and younger. I have a lot of us have become millionaires this week, and that's really exciting. I'm really happy for a lot of my peers that are now new millionaires, and that's exciting. And it's not so much the that number that's so important. Really, is having the comfort. That's something I realized this year, was that I now have the financial powers to take care of my parents, to take care of my family, and for health and wellness reasons. Like nothing is out of reach that we would need for health because of the wealth that I'm building. And having that gratitude and happiness to know, and that comfort is the greatest thing I've ever experienced, was just finally knowing and digesting, like, parents have nothing to worry about financially. I got it. I can take care of it. So that's good. That's just going to get better. I'm just getting warmed up. So it'll be exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. What a beautiful thing too. I think a big part of stress for so many people is the financial bind that we feel like we're constantly in.
Yeah.
Speaking of health, it's like, I think that's one of the things that's making so many people sick is living on the financial brink.
Exactly.
Day in and day out.
It's stress, and money's energy, and you have to let that energy flow through you, and treat it as such.
Yeah, and treat it well. Also, like, in the last couple of years, I had to do a complete overhaul of my perspective of money, my philosophy.
Yeah, I had to unlearn a lot myself.
Yeah. There's a lot of negative bullshit attached to it that's simply not true.
Very, yep. And the deprogram.
A cool metaphor that I like to think about, that I heard, that is that money is like a beautiful woman or a beautiful man who you're trying to court. And so you have to treat it well, and you have to show that you care for it and that you'll take care of it. Because if you're always, essentially saying like, oh, like money's causing all these problems, like I hate money's evil, all this stuff. Essentially, you're saying like, get away from me.
Yeah, 100%.
You're pushing it away energetically, and that's
a lot of these,
just the cycle. Like, it keeps on
yeah,
going.
I hate billionaires. I hate millionaires, and it's like, that's not going to help you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so true. And I heard, I believe Ken Honda is this Japanese millionaire or billionaire, but he has this practice he does called arigato your money. Have you heard this?
No, I love that name though.
Yeah, he has this thing. He arigatos his money anytime he receives or spends it. Right. And he has a book on it. Actually, it's very interesting. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a few interviews with him. So anytime you spend money, you say a small prayer of thanks and gratitude for being able to do that, even for something mundane like a cup of coffee. And the more you do that, the more money you'll attract, just by way of manifesting and being vibrationally aligned with that and treating it the right way. Like you said, that's a great way to build your wealth. And when you have the right intentions on what you want to do with said wealth, right? If your mind is aligned with sports cars and Lambos and your heart isn't, you're not going to be very successful. But if your life's mission is to build a school in a poor village, God's going to find a way to give you those resources and assets for you to be able to fulfill your desire.
No doubt about it. Yeah, that's one of the real keys of manifestation for sure, especially when it comes to money. Where is it going? Like, why do you need $1 million? What are you going to do with it?
I had this crazy story, and a lot of people wouldn't even believe me if I told it, but since you're familiar with manifesting, you would get a kick out of it. I wrote this note actually on a sticky note like this. It was a manifestation note to God saying, thank you for giving me, I wrote a figure on it, $10,000, so I can pay for my parents. And I listed like 10 things that would help with my parents' health and wellness. And so I wrote down, what I was going to use this wealth for. And I put it in our little home temple, right? And I just snuck it in there. And that's it. I just believed that it was going to come true, and I didn't do a single thing. And within 7 days of that, I got $4,000. And then the next week after that, I got $6,000 come to me. And that's it. That's it. And then right when I got that 10, I stopped like really trying to go after it. I was just happy with what I got, and I said, okay, that's it. And I was with stocks and stuff, you know what I mean? But a lot of that is just chance, or it's like whatever timeline I manifested myself into. It could have happened or it couldn't have happened. You know what I mean? It didn't have to happen, but I was able to enter into that reality where it did, and very quickly in a few days. And once I understood the power of that and the power of intent, it got me thinking like, okay, well, if I can get my parents, exercise equipment and shit like that, what else can I do for humanity with this wealth? So now I'm upping the goals and stuff like that, and upping my intentions.
Awesome. Can you share any of those visions with us?
The newer ones? Mainly still helping my parents out with different any bills that need to be paid off, or any debts. Also regarding a big, a nice house for them to retire in, a Tesla.
Awesome.
But that's not really, that's still aligned. I'm not putting it in the same category as like getting a sports car. It's a safe car. It's a good vehicle, and it's something that I don't think my folks would ever get themselves. But if I got it for them, I think they would. I think my dad would really enjoy it. So I think that's something I'll be able to do soon. Also, having enough resources financially to be able to fund my business ventures. and different charity ventures that I want to do. I have one charity that I want to start that provides kind of what you're doing with your book, but I want to provide knowledge of Hinduism to people like myself that were kind of born and raised here, that had a very skewed idea of what Hinduism and Eastern philosophy was. So I want to start some sort of fund to kind of dispel that kind of information to other people. And I really think that allowing others to wake up, through tools of spirituality like meditation, far more gains will be had from that, right? Like, if I could give somebody a few $100s, or I could teach them how to meditate. You know what I mean? And I think one's is much more powerful than the other, in terms of causing rippling change.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Those are awesome things to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. My next phase is going to be upping my coaching for my breathwork practice with clients, and my meditation coaching, and growing that in such a way to, again, help wake up others so they can wake up others, and I think that's the best bang for buck thing I can do to help others get positive changes in their lives in the same way I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful vision. I can kind of like see it in terms of like these, like a string of light bulbs going like tick, 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 off into the distance, like
wow,
each one kind of connecting with the next one. Very cool. Yeah, I believe that that's some of the most important work that we're doing, that anybody is doing. It's like we have this interesting thing that happens when you're human, is like you continually forget who you are and what you're capable of, and we're also tasked with continually reminding each other, like, hey, you know, the divine is within you, infinite intelligence indwells you.
Yeah, we just have to remember.
And there's so many different ways to, like, there's so many different ways to remind each other of that. Mm-hmm. And I had this realization when I was in an art gallery with a bunch of my friends who we were all displaying our art together at a festival. And I had taken LSD that evening, and I had that realization that this was a picture of essentially like God's self reminding God's self, like, hey, it's me. I love you.
I love it. Wow. Amazing.
Over and over again.
Amazing.
We remember and we forget and we remember again, and there's an infinite amount of ways to like remind each other, and it's like this beautiful.
That's what life is. That's what life is that game. It's that lila, that dance of forgetting and remembering, and that's what and that's what our souls are doing right now. Is our souls comes from all knowledge, the all source has all knowledge, but it almost the soul separates itself from that and pretends it doesn't know, and only to make it find its way back. It's like a game of hide and seek almost.
It is exactly that, hide and seek. And if we didn't have, if we just knew the whole time, then we wouldn't have the pleasure and the challenge of playing that game.
Yeah. So that's the Hindu concept of the Leela. It's just a cosmic dance.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
All right. So I had a couple more things I wanted to get into. One of them seems like a really abrupt segue from the cosmic dance. So I'm trying to think of like a better way to bring it around.
Go for it.
Just boom.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I'll soften the transition a little bit with this. your cosmic dance metaphor reminded me of earlier today. I got to have the pleasure of surfing at sunset on LSD, and it was like
Today?
Yeah, today.
Oh, you're probably still a little buzzed, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh, this is awesome.
It was a relatively small amount, so
but still, yeah, you still have that little background buzz going. That's amazing.
Yeah, so for surfing. But anyways, I had that experience of riding on a wave in the ocean is continually reminds me of that feeling of like forgetting and remembering. And almost like when you're waiting out in the ocean, you're like, is it going to happen again? Like, is a wave going to come along? And then all of a sudden you're there and you're like riding this beautiful energy on water that has traveled for thousands of miles to like come and crash on the shore and, allow you to ride it for just a moment before it crashes on the shore. It's like a cosmic dance indeed.
Wow.
LSD, I think, is something I wanted to bring up from Stan Groff, is that it's a non-specific thought amplifier.
Yeah, it's a non-specific amplifier. Absolutely, that's the way he describes it. And I think it's a pretty accurate description, at least in a very short sentence, of what the mechanism of psychedelics are, especially LSD.
Especially LSD. The other ones I think are
especially LSD
entity contact.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's something like, I forgot who said it was. He said he was scared of mushrooms because there was somebody in there. I think it was Terrence McKenna. He didn't say the word scared, but he said there's someone in there. Do you know who said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to refer to them as Father Toadstool and Mama Mycelium.
No shit. Wow. I never thought about that. But yeah, that's what
the spirit of the
that's what psilocybin feels like. It feels like there's somebody in there. Whereas LSD doesn't necessarily feel like that. I enjoy both. I do enjoy, I think in our last conversation we talked about this, I do enjoy LSD more because it's more functional. And we're talking about some sport specific uses of LSD on our show. Like you said, the surfing, the biking, the mountain biking that you do. And it's a performance enhancer as well, because again, it's a non-specific amplifier. So you're attuned to different things, to different things, that different pattern recognitions that you normally wouldn't notice. So there's something really interesting about that.
It's easy to get in a flow state. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, and flow states where the magic happens. And that's where I get my peak happiness, is when I'm in these flow states. So any way I can trigger a flow state is I'm all game for it, whether it be with psychedelics, with breath work, with Wim Hof type stuff, or
it's marijuana has been a very, very helpful ally for me with my creative work, no doubt. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the direction of this psychedelic medicine, psychedelic healing. So how are you intending to work with that, or how do you see it going for society?
I think we need to have some requirements put in place that the professional psychedelic guides, especially in the psychiatry realms of medicine, they need to have their own personal experiences using the medicine before they can kind of guide others. And but a lot of them, at least in the Johns Hopkins studies, a lot of the people conducting the studies have had their own experiences, so they're doing a good job with that. And the way I see it going is, especially with a lot of these states decriminalizing it, I think more people are going to be woken up to what this thing really is, and we're going to see a massive shift in societal consciousness. And if you think things are accelerating now, you haven't seen shit yet. You know what I mean? Like, look how fast the internet grew. And with psychedelic revolution, it's going to be, with things like, it's like everybody's getting a computer chip in their brain. It's like Neuralink, except it's early, except you can grow it in your backyard. And it's, we're going to see some massive changes, because people are going to get more divine. They're going to act out of love.
Mm.
We're going to see a lot more union and less separation between you and I, and we're going to see great technological advances, right? Steve Jobs thought of the iPod on, on LSD. Watson and Crick. Watson, took LSD when he came up with some of the aspects of the double helix.
Oh, Francis Crick.
Yeah, Francis Crick, right. And a few other, the polymerase reaction PCR test, I believe that guy, he won a Nobel Prize. He also came up with his Nobel Prize winning ideas under the influence of LSD. And I think that we're going to start seeing more. We're going to start seeing more of that. I think I read somewhere like more than 50% of billionaires use psychedelics on a regular basis. So we're gonna start seeing more of that for sure.
And
as just as a neurohacking tool, yeah. And again, meditation is the same. Meditation is the same sidewalk as psychedelics. It's all in the same spectrum. It's just a weaker version of. I posted a status one day that it was pretty funny. I said that meditation is just slow-mo psychedelics.
It is, yeah. It really is.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're both super useful. And
I mean, not all of us have 30 years to go meditate in a cave in the Himalayan mountain. You know what I mean? You don't have that time. It's just realistically, we just can't do that. So instead, hey, take a large dose, take a heroic dose, and in 6 hours you can get some of the same benefits that you would have got 30 years meditating in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shortcut, but of course the real magic happens in integration and integrating those lessons into your life over the long term. That's the hard part, and that's the most important part. But hey, it's definitely a shortcut. You could walk to New York City, or you could take a car. LSD is like taking a car, and meditation is like walking.
Yeah, totally. That's a good way to put it. In society right now, we need that high speed.
Yeah. People are waking up, and I'm optimistic that just more people will keep waking up, and it seems to be very big bifurcation, big division between right and left, and people are digging their heels in the ground, and other people are optimistic, and some people are pessimistic, and I think we're going to start seeing more of that stark division in the short term before things get better.
It seems to be, based on the events of the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So
a lot of, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Yeah, with the people invading the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Some of it seems overblown.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I want to hear your thoughts on it, but my thoughts is that a lot of it's being overblown by the media. Domestic terrorism, like they destroyed a couple of bookshelves, and nothing was set on fire, and they were let in. I don't know about domestic terrorism, but considering there was 30,000 people there, and let's say maximum 100 of them were monkeying around, causing a ruckus. It's hard to equate that. Somebody said on the news that it was like 9/11, and I was like, dude, stop. Like, it's not 9/11. Like, yeah, they said that, and on the news, and it's and we're all being like kind of brainwashed to think like it was that serious, and it's serious. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it was domestic terrorism, and no different than some of the events we saw happen this summer, where things were actually set on fire.
Yeah, I think there's been a really interesting interplay this year between the kind of like the extreme edges of the left and the right.
Yeah, I found myself lost in that,
Yeah. Well,
I can relate. I can relate. Yeah.
We're all kind of being dragged along by the edges in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to take a middle position and say, hey, this wasn't 9/11.
Yeah, no.
Then you'd be like, oh, you're just a Trump supporter, or you'd get shamed for saying something like that. So Yeah, it's a wild events, and I don't think Trump's going to be able to recover from it. At least that's what it seems like. It seems like he's kind of donezo. Even though,
Oh yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you think he incited it to happen, or I don't think he intended for it to happen in the
Well,
way that it went down? I think
I
he
think
played a part, but I don't think he saw this coming.
Yeah, no, I think
He had
he,
some bad luck.
as usual during his presidency, he could have done a much better job of being a leader and
Quelling it down. Yeah.
saying the right thing, and like
Taking the temperature down. Yeah.
yeah, taking the temperature down. He could
It's
have
like
done
kind
a
of
much
going,
better
it's
job.
kind of going past the sale. You know what I mean? He already won the hearts of so many people, and he kind of just kept egging them on. And
Yeah,
yeah.
he didn't. In a lot of ways, he is very he's just a hard person to have in your life all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? He's a reflection of us.
Yeah, that too.
He's playing a role, and I'm thankful for him playing this role, even though it's an ugly role. And
Right.
and this is coming from someone that did support him, and he's a reflection of people's, dark sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a couple of important points to touch on here. I mean, I think what I think is one of the most damaging things that's coming out of this is there's this narrative that essentially that whole crowd, anybody who is there is a white supremacist.
Yeah, there was 30,000 people there, all peacefully marching until, like 3, 4 p.m. when those hooligans, again, part of that crowd, I'm not saying they were separate, but they took it too far.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I guess
they just wanted an investigation. Like, I understand the plight and their sentiment. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, it seemed like sort of getting into the motivations of it is tricky because it's such a complex, loaded political situation.
Yeah. Now you're not allowed to. No one's allowed to bring up election integrity anymore because they're just going to bring up this incident of the invasion of the Capitol building as, oh, you're just one of those. It's kind of done. It's like you can't talk about any of that anymore.
The censorship is very real.
Yeah, you can't talk about it anymore, and they just censored the president. And it's
yeah,
some crazy. Cancel culture is a real problem. And
yeah,
it's you can't have other ideas. Even when you share stuff about COVID, you'll get banned. I had a pharmacist. He has a pharmacist degree, a doctor of pharmacy degree, and he is a medical doctor. And he had posted some scientific facts about COVID and the flu in a way that liberals would agree. Okay. He was posting good stuff about the vaccine and stuff about the message he posted was something any left-leaning person would agree with. Okay. So not controversial and coming from a scientific source. And even his post got censored. And it's like, well, shit, he was trying to do the right thing. And what he was saying was factually correct. And it's scary. You look at who these fact checkers are, and they're like these high school graduates that are sitting on the couch, just like clicking. It's very arbitrary. It's not done by any professional fact checking.
That's weird. I hadn't heard that before. Well, I had heard that they were unreliable, but I had never heard that they were,
Yeah, they're not like, they don't have history degrees, they're just hired to look up Snopes.
They're just Googlers.
They're just Googlers. No, they really are. They're just, because think about how much manpower and staff is required to fact check everything. They're just Googlers, and they just use Snopes, which is already compromised on many levels and stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, censorship stuff is very scary. It's something also that this is reminding me of is this year. So historically have been a very just generally democratic, left-leaning person. And this year I witnessed, or I should say last year, I witnessed this real dark side of the illiberal authoritarian left.
Yeah, I switched to right. And that was like something I never saw coming, I was always more center left, and now I'm more center right than ever before. So I actually shifted because I just got sick of the left was just going too far left, and it was becoming too extremist. Progressives, they always eat their own, and I didn't like the direction that party was going, and they were eating up the center. And again, the division is getting too wide. It's hard to be in the middle. But that's where I find myself. I find myself leaning more right these days, with some more conservative values because of I think some of it's going a little too far left. This is my personal view.
It is, yeah. And I also think, I'm this type of label I find to be generally polarizing. So I think it is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I suppose if I had to label myself, I would be leaning more towards libertarian, and I've started to take up some more conservative viewpoints as well, but I still do have some liberal.
Yeah, I think I'm a big mix of both. I'm very nuanced. Some issues I'm far left, and some issues I'm more right. So it's I'm definitely a mixed bag. So it's hard to put labels on it because labels are really limiting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Raj. That's just my political belief. I believe that's just what it is.
Indeed,
they're always evolving.
While we're on the controversial topics, I want to get into one that I think is going to really be a hot button issue this year, which is the vaccination topic.
Yeah. So 66% of the hospital I work at said no to the vaccine right now.
Oh,
that doesn't mean they said no altogether, but they said not right now. And that's a bigger number than people were expecting, because we're led by the news media that, everybody wants this vaccine. But the reality is that a lot of people are just waiting. My personal belief is that I'm going to wait till April, May, June to make a decision on getting it. Only because I'm required to get it, I'm not required to get it for work, but I do believe that they're going to make your life miserable in different ways if you don't get it. Like, you may not be able to travel or to go get concerts and things like that. And as much as I don't want to take it, just for my own personal reasons, because I'm not big on pills or medicine, you know what I mean? I don't think I need a vaccine for the flu. I think I have a pretty good immune system, I definitely don't need it, but if I am going to get it, I'm going to wait a few months. It doesn't mean I'm anti-vaccine. It's like when Honda releases a new car. I don't want to be the first one to drive it off the lot. I'd rather wait a few months. It doesn't mean I'm anti-Honda. I'm not anti-car. It's perfectly reasonable. And we're seeing that in the hospitals all around the country, is that a lot of health educated people are not saying this publicly, but privately they're saying, I'm just going to wait. Some people are getting the Pfizer, some people getting the Moderna. I want to see which one's better. I'll wait a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's wise. My perspective is, I think it's the idea of mandatory vaccination is deeply wrong.
It's very scary, and I think that's a dangerous slope that we're on right now. And and they may not mandate it by law, but they're going to not allow you to go on planes, not allow you to go to bars and restaurants and concert tickets unless you have a vaccine certification. And that's fucked, dude. And that's really scary. And that's their way of mandating that everybody gets this thing. Is mandatory medicine is awful idea. And it's and if somebody told me that, a few years ago, you would have never believed them. But now it's like, it's a reality, and it's coming. If not with this time, the next time this happens, or something happens, mandatory anything is gonna be even with the masks. I'm okay with wearing a mask, but mandatory masks, mandating it, mask mandates, very dangerous idea. Awful idea, because those rules get put in place, but they don't ever take them away.
Right.
It's very easy to put a mask mandate, but removing a mask mandate is unrealistic. It's something the government just can't do, because someone will just raise their hand and say, "But my grandma died," and you'll never get it.
I think it's setting a terrifying precedent, and I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you for not getting it at all. If
I don't need a vaccine I don't need a vaccine.
Yeah, I don't think you need one. You know what I mean? If you needed one, you would have been born with it.
Yeah.
And if this is the way it is, and
I was born with an immune system. It works great.
Yeah, a very good. In fact, it's 99% effective against COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good odds.
It's pretty good odds.
Why
are we being mandated to take this?
Right. I think it should be
developed vaccine.
If it works so well, take it yourself.
Right? Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So
how come you need me to take it for it to work for you?
What's your medical perspective on that? I don't get that part.
Their argument is herd immunity, but I think we can get to herd immunity without everybody getting the vaccination. But their argument is that the scientific argument is that you will get to herd immunity faster if everybody gets vaccinated, right? Which is true. You could also get to herd immunity if only half of us got vaccinated as well. So their argument is just the speed at which we reach herd immunity. But again, you not getting it is not going to make my vaccine work less.
Right. And also,
plus you're still going to need the mask after the vaccine. There's still going to be closed businesses. There's still going to be social distance rules. So why am I getting this again? I would get it if it means I can take off the mask, but you still have to wear a mask. That's all. All the rules are still dead set in place for the long foreseeable future. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's just about a virus, and it's freaking me out.
and it's like, did you test the virus? Did you test it? It's like all the scientists and doctors agree. Well, they're just parroting each other, right? If a doctor says the vaccine is safe, he's just parroting what he heard from another doctor, and he or she is just parroting what they heard from the pharmaceutical doctor.
Right.
So it's
well, it's impossible that it could have been tested for long-term effects.
Yeah. So ideally,
that's impossible.
Even with my thinking, waiting till April, May, I shouldn't do it. I need to wait a few years to at least get some moderately long-term effects, data.
Yeah. It's pretty scary to me.
Then again, you're shamed if you raise up those reasonable questions. You get silenced, you get canceled, you get laughed at. Someone just yesterday in my Facebook group of healthcare professionals posted, when are you guys getting it or not? And they got laughed at, and it's crazy. It's just a reasonable question.
Yeah.
It's become politicalized. It's like climate science. Yeah. If you like think the world is going to end, if you don't think the world is going to end in 10 years due to global warming, then you're just a denier,
Science denier.
It's like that. And that's what it is with the vaccine. And people at work are saying, "Oh, Raj, you don't believe in science? You don't believe in science? Is that why you're not taking it right now?" It's like, well, no, dude, like that's the kind of conversations that happen with me. And it's just,
hey, everybody, science
is a religion. Science has become a religion now. And it's very flawed, scientific.
Yeah.
A lot of science is very much flawed. Even the rats they use, half these studies on are flawed, and they're not even good rats to use. So things are not. Science is always changing and always evolving. I love science, but it's not a religion. Exactly. And like you said, your immune system's just fine.
Yeah, and the basis of science is about asking questions.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to ask scientific questions anymore because the science is settled. The science is settled. This vaccine works. It just works. You know, it's science is there. The guy that made it said so.
It's really frustrating to watch. It's like I'm not a scientific person at all, and I can see that the thinking is deeply flawed.
I am. I mean, I am, and it's I have to separate my professional role when I speak about this. You know, that's my disclaimer, is that none of my opinions are shared by my employer, but or my professional or organizations. But this is my personal opinion. I think science has been overtaken by the left, and you know, we're getting a lot of unscientific ideas kind of being pushed down academia's throats. And if you ask anybody in academia, they'll tell you things are real fucked right now.
It's been bought and sold.
Yeah, it's being highly manipulated right now. Social sciences and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is indeed. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So on that subject, what about the masks? Wearing a mask outdoors that seems insane to me.
It is insane. It's absolutely absurd. It's absurd. And again, people are either wearing it because they believe in it, or they're just wearing it because it's less confrontational than explaining that it's absurd.
Right.
Like, that's why I wear it, you know. And you know, it's if you share an article saying that the masks aren't as effective as everybody likes to say, you'll get shamed for it, and those articles get banned. You know what I mean? But it's science, and the science is going to keep evolving. But if you can't share something that disagrees with the current today's science, then how can you evolve science? You know, and
right.
Cloth masks aren't probably that effective
at all.
They're better than nothing.
If you're close to people.
The libertarian in me would like it so there's no mandate, but it's optional. Like, if I own a store and you don't want to wear a mask in my store, you're allowed to not wear a mask. And if you want to wear a mask, you should be allowed to wear a mask. And if it's my store and I say everybody's got to wear a mask, then everybody's got to wear a mask. It's just the rules of the store. You know, you need that personal freedom. That's how I see it. And outside, absurd. It's absolutely absurd. If you're scared of the virus and you can't get it due to some immunocompromised issues, then wear your own mask or stay home.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't shame me for wanting to breathe fresh air. You know,
I think so. I've been having this issue a lot. I walk around Santa Monica a lot without a mask on, and because it's fucking.
You're in a more left area, and as am I. And I know about you guys. I'm in Jersey, and people are driving with masks on.
Yeah.
And that's you'll see that at least half a dozen times a day. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? And you go to Florida and nobody's wearing a mask and they're doing great.
Yeah.
And a lot of factors. And maybe not some other ones, but in a lot of factors they're doing pretty good. Better than New York, that's for sure. And Cali is left nation, so you tell me.
Super lefty. Yeah, I've gotten yelled at. I've had quite a few reprimands and just a lot of like dirty looks and everybody's following the rules and all.
People are so confused. It's like, I can't believe he's not wearing a face diaper. You know, I can't believe it. You know, it's.
Oh my God! I never thought I'd be in this reality. What the hell? But people. But so I want to get into this a little more because I think it's super important. It's this absurd single factor analysis where we're only looking at this one thing and not looking at all of the negative side effects of the prescription that we're choosing, right?
Exactly.
So it's exactly what's happening with lockdown.
You're 100%. Same is happening worse with lockdown. At least masks they have negative effects, but not to the extent that lockdowns do.
No.
That's true.
It's the same type of shit.
same line of thinking, yeah.
But I really think I think the negative effects of masks are quite significant. It's like you're breathing in your own CO2 instead of breathing fresh air.
I don't know about I don't even know if that, I think some of that's been disproven too. My thing is if you don't want to wear it, you shouldn't have to wear it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It ends right there. And if you have to wear it, then wear
it. Right. It should be that simple. But no, I think it's pretty little, like, having done breath work, how much your breath affects how you feel.
It does. No, it does. And another thing it affects is fear. You can't breathe the air that's outside. It's poison. It's toxic. The air is now toxic. It's full of COVID particles.
Yeah.
So, by wearing a mask every time you get the outside air, you're admitting to your subconscious that, the air is toxic, and a lot of fear builds up in that too.
Right. And that's what I think is
people are ratting each other out. And even in my office, people are complaining to the manager, like, oh, so-and-so, I caught him not wearing a mask. And that's a common thing that happens. And it's like, people are pitting against each other. It's like, oh, he had a barbecue and he didn't have a mask with his uncle. And it's like, dude, what? It's very toxic.
It's very toxic. And one more thing on this, I don't want to harp on it too long, but not only are we doing that, but we're giving our children that programming.
Yeah. You saw that heartbreaking thing, the 3-year-old girl got kicked off the plane.
Yeah.
And her family got banned. Things like that happen all the time because they're not wearing masks. And you expect kids to wear masks properly. And again, think of how traumatic this is for the children. When they grow older, they have all these subconscious memories and all this trauma that they're going through right now.
Scared, masked people everywhere.
Yeah. It's not natural. Everybody's looking like astronauts.
It's child abuse. It's psychological abuse.
Yeah.
And because we're literally saying there's a deadly virus, it's everywhere. You can't interact
that's
with
fucking
anybody.
Scary for a child. You have a child, so you know. I mean, it's
horrible. I can't believe we're doing it. It's completely insane. And I'm super thankful that our child is young enough to not have to, so we don't have to explain this.
Exactly. Yeah. By then it'll be kind of calmed down a bit, but
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm super thankful that she's young, because there's no way she's going to wear a mask. She's a little kid. We're not going to put a mask on her. It's insane.
Yeah. No, it's real. Because now you have to explain death.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these kids, and it's it's a hard conversation. Thankfully,
this is the programming that they're growing up with,
Yeah, they're growing up with this, and exactly. This is going to be very hard to deprogram.
So much of our subconscious beliefs come from the 0 to
7. You start to exactly, and now you have this idea of how fragile you are rather than how powerful you are.
Mm-hmm. And that you should be afraid of other human beings.
Yes, especially if they're not wearing a mask or they're wearing a red hat, and it's not good.
It's really bad. It's hard to watch, and I'm just like, why are we choosing this? What the fuck, people? I don't know. I'm an optimist for my whole life, so I know.
Yeah, exactly. I got pulled into all this. Everything we just talked about for the past 20 minutes, like, it was very deeply upsetting to me. But at this point, it's like, okay, we're all being brainwashed, and it's okay because I signed up for it, and it's not my job to convince others that masks are silly or lockdowns are silly. I did take that role for a bit, trying to see if I was the crazy one or you're the crazy one, or maybe I had my ego was trying to just be right. I have this issue but this thing I've had for going for this pattern I play out where I want to be right. And that's something I need to deprogram myself from. But, I stopped trying to put these ideas on others. If they want to believe that COVID's going to kill them, then that's just what it is. I can't change other people's minds. I can only change myself. And that's it. And just everybody has to go on their own journey, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take on the responsibility of trying to, like what we just talked about, trying to put that on others that aren't ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you deeply unhappy and, angry, and makes
Yeah,
you
I posted
great.
something the other day. I said, does anybody have any evidence that they closed gyms in our town? I said, does anybody have any evidence that the gym that they closed down was contributing to ICU beds? Because that's why we have the shutdown, right? Because the ICU beds are running out.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, do you have any evidence that this gym, let's say I own this gym, do you have any evidence that my gym is contributing to hospital beds? Just show me just a little bit of evidence, just a shred, and I might play with this game with you. No evidence can be presented that shows, or data that shows, that gyms contribute to ICU hospitalizations. Yet everybody's a-okay with them getting shut down forcibly, and all gyms and all yoga studios and everybody's getting shut down at once. It's not on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe my yoga studio definitely was not contributing to any beds, but now my business is being shut down and people are shaming me. You can see it on my comments. People are saying like, oh, well, you should have adapted. You should have done online karate and online weightlifting. And, that's what people are saying to me. And then it's like the people of science can't even come up with their own science because they know it's deeply flawed reasoning. And then somebody said, oh, well, the gyms have to be closed because COVID spreads indoors. And I said, then you might as well close down everything. Everything's indoors. Like, how is that an argument, saying that we must close down the gyms because it's indoors? COVID spreads indoors. Don't you know? I said, I posted a question. I said, please show me the science. And somebody responded back saying, well, the science says that COVID spreads indoors. That's the science. I said, that's not fucking strong enough for me to close down my business. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
People are fighting back.
Yeah, it's very illogical, and it just seems like there must be some other agenda happening. It's the only explanation.
It's the only explanation is that something sinister is going on with forced closure of businesses, the transfer of wealth, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's super important for us to acknowledge and remember what it really means to be human at this point. I think we're actually losing, like we're having aspects of our humanity taken away from us.
Yeah,
and that's deeply troubling.
It is. But hey, I'm optimistic now, and I'm like, this is all for a reason. You just have to extract the lessons. I mean, 2020 has been a great year for me. I've learned a lot about myself and got closer with my family in ways that wouldn't have happened unless we got quarantined and isolated inside our homes. So a lot of good things came out of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very blessed for that. And I just think, good things will come out eventually from this. And even if I go the rest of my life, knowing things that others aren't seeing, so be it. It's fine.
So be it. Yeah. I appreciate your perspective about it. I feel that way also, but I'm also like,
no, I can go extreme. I can go extreme really quickly. If you get me triggered enough, like I can go on a rant and just go off and can get very triggered and upset. But I just know that that's just not helping me. And and it is frustrating to see misrepresentations of truth, and but it's not my job to convince others of the truth. It's just something I have to believe and just go about my life and keep trying to help others and act out of love and kindness.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. It always comes back to that.
Yeah, and that's what my reawakening was about, was getting back to love and kindness and acting from there, because that's what I forgot.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's interesting that that was one of the first lessons that the psychedelics taught me.
Yeah, they're very consistent in teaching us that. Yes.
Every time.
Every time. And it's like, again, you forget, and you need to be reminded. And the psychedelics do a great job at reminding us who we are and what we're here to do.
Hmm. So I'll wrap it around to the name of the podcast, which is the Super Connector Podcast was named in honor of the mycelium.
Beautiful. I love it.
So I believe
you know that all trees communicate with each other using the mycelial network, kind of like like an early internet. You know, it's beautiful.
The internet of the forest.
Internet, yeah, it's way more advanced. Yeah, so that's a beautiful name.
Yeah, and I think actually the mushrooms are helping us move forward through this time. So
it is.
Everybody,
I had a lot of psychedelic sessions in quarantine, so I gotta say, yeah, it's very true.
I did it also. It's weird when you go outside and but
yeah,
just gotta stay away from all the crazy people.
Right. Yeah, I've just done it indoors for the most part. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, I want to do another episode with you sometime, but for now, I think let's wrap.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more to talk about the next time, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they want to see your social media and such like that?
So you can just find me at Padalia at my Facebook. Happy to connect and talk with anybody. You can follow me at my podcast page. You can find my podcast page from my main profile. My podcast is called Mind Manifesting Podcast. I renamed it to Mind Manifesting Media because I want to start including other forms of creative art included with that brand. I'm up to a bunch of new things all day, every day. So the best way to keep updated right now, at least before I get my other YouTube and things like that set up, is just simply facebook.com/Raj Padalia.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks a lot, Raj.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much. It was been an honor to be on your show. So I look forward to having more conversations.
Yeah, no doubt about it.